Good evening, everybody. My name is Chenyang Rickard. I'm the president of ACA. Thank you, everyone, to be here tonight. Tonight, the Stop Hate Candlelight Vigil is organized by Alliance of Chinese Americans San Diego, ACA, in coordination with United Chinese Americans. And tonight, over the country, there are 16 cities will host Vigil. And this event will be broadcasted in Zoom. Our ACA is a nonprofit 503c3 organization. ACA is dedicated to serving the Chinese community in San Diego. Our goal is to assist the Chinese new immigrant in achieving their American dreams. By doing so, we try to create an inclusive, diverse, and a harmonious society. And tonight, we united to say no to the hate, to say no to the violence against our Asian American communities. Nearly 5 days ago, 8 lives were snatched away violently and senselessly. The gunman opened fire at 3 massage spas. 8 lives in the broad daylight robbed. The victims are Xiao Jietan, Dao Youfeng, Paul Andrea Mitchells, Song Chen Park, Hing Jung Grant, Song Cha Kim, Yun A.U., and Denali Ashley Young. Their lives forever frozen on that date. But let's not forget them. The legacy is a story people tell and will tell about you. Xiao Jietan was the owner of Young's Asian Massage. She was a Chinese immigrant. She came to the U.S. following her heart and love. She met her former husband, Mr. Webb, in China. Although neither of them speaks other's language, they did not stop for falling in love with each other. The couple was married in 2004 in China. Around 110 people attend their wedding from all over the world. He brought his new families back to the U.S., and in 2006, Mr. Webb legally adopted Xiao Jie's daughter, Jiami, whose Americanized name is a combination of her mom and his. Jiami will talk about her mother. She said this: "She did everything for me and for the family. She provided everything. She worked every day, 12 hours a day, so that we and my family can have a better life." Xiao Jie's customers adored her and described her as just the sweetest, kindest, the most giving person. She would be 50 on March 17th, just one day after the shooting. And she would have gathered with her only child for a slice of strawberry fresh cream cake. That was her favorite. Instead, her clock is forever stopped at 49. Hing Jung Grant was an employee at Gold Spa in Atlanta. She spent most of her time working, rising early and returning home at night. She's a single mother. She worried about helping her 2 sons with their college tuitions and paying the rent and the bills on the home they shared. But the hard working and the burden did not temper her young spirit. She was playful and fun. She liked to say she had the mind of a young teenager. She enjoyed watching Korean dramas and whipped up a kimchi jjigae. Don't ask me what it is. As long as we were together, she was always happy. Her son Rickard said about his mom. On her free days, she liked to take Eric and his older brother Randy to aquariums and malls. They would usually end up at a Korean restaurant, sharing the spicy tofu stew that she really craved. On the date of the shooting, Mrs. Grant's son learned about it from the Ghost Spot employee's daughter, but they did not know their mom had passed. Until that the night when a relative in Korea saw her name in the report. Miss Grant was 51. Mr. Dao Youfeng, she had just started working at the spa in the past few months, and she was already a welcome figure to her customers. She was 44. The Nala Ashley Young was looking forward to a date with her husband. The couple chose a relaxing massage at Young's Asian Massage. She and her husband arrived shortly after shooting began. She was killed, but her husband survived. Locked in the nearby room as gunshots rang out. Mr. Young, one of the four siblings, and grew up in the area, had worked as a server at a Waffle House restaurant. He raised a 13-year-old son as a single mother and had an 8-month-old daughter. The Waffle House manager, Mr. Beck, described her as arriving in the morning, blasting the gossip music, and often buying eggs and the grits for homeless people who had no money for food. Perhaps her sister Dane will tell you how much she loved her family. It's just all about family. Whatever we do together, she says. I expect to see her walking through that door by any minute. Her biggest dream was to get married. And last year, she did just that. But nearly 1 year later, after her biggest day in her life, her husband was left alone, trying to make sense of the senseless. Delana was 33. Paul Andrew Mitchell, who was among those killed at Young's Asian Massage, was one of the 9 siblings. Mr. Mitchell was a businessman and a veteran of the U.S. Army, where she served in the late 1980s. Paul has been married for more than 20 years and was a Catholic, as well as a strong political conservative. His brother will tell you that my brother was a very hardworking, loving man. He grew up in southwest Detroit and moved to Georgia about 25 years ago. He was 54. Sancha Kim was an employee at Gold Spa, a grandmother who enjoyed land dancing in her spare times. He had been married for more than 50 years. She had immigrated to the U.S. from Korea to provide her family better education and a better life. She's just a regular American family that worked really hard. She was 74. Soon Chen Park was also worked at Gold Spa, who lived in New York before moving to Atlanta. She had stayed close with her relatives, many of whom still lived in New York and New Jersey. She was 69. Yang Yu worked at aromatherapy spa in Atlanta. She moved to the United States from South Korea in the 1970s, coming with her husband. When she met when he was stationed in the Army, they have 2 children. He found work as a cashier at a grocery store outside Fort Benning, and the couple stayed there until 1982. Although divorced, the family had been close. She used to take my sister to the spa, her husband said, and they had kept in touch, having lunches together as recently as last summer. She was a good mother, her husband would told you. She was always there for her kids. Mr. Yu was 63. Tonight, we are saying their names, telling their stories, and lighting the candles, grieving for their untimely departure from this world. Because we all feel it. We all feel it. It's no longer a distant violence that we read in the newspaper, saw on the TV. This felt home. They are our sisters. The violence is right at our doorstep. We all feel it. We all feel those rushes of emotions, yet it's so hard for us to express it because they are just beyond what the words can carry. The shock, the horror, the loss, the sadness, the anger, the rage. There's so gripping is a connection to each one of us. And we ask, why? Some say the killer had a bad day. Some say the killer kills to eliminate the temptation to his sex addiction. Let's just pause a minute. Take a minute and think about it. A bad day? A temptation to sex addiction? Are we supposed to be the easy target to amend a bad day? Are we the temptation to a sex addiction that needs to be eliminated? We got the power to those senseless reasons, yet we found actually this terribly, terribly familiar. For too long, we the Asian Americans has been a scapegoat for so many things. For so too long, we have been painted as villains when we are the victims of most hideous crimes. For the Chinese Exclusion Act, 2 Japanese internment camps during the World War II, to the killing of Vincent Chen, to the crimes against the Hindus, Muslims, and the Sikhs of 9/11. On the one hand, We are lauded as law-binding model minorities. And even some of us took so much pride of it. Our success and hard working are undeniable. But on the other hand, we are an easy target and disposable to many problems. And unfortunately, the cultural and sometimes the language barriers kept us quiet. But no more silence. As much as we felt our emotions, as much as we felt our personal vulnerability, we also felt the awakened sense of strength, courage in our voice. We will no longer be silenced. We will no longer keep quiet. We will proudly, loudly, and unitedly stand up tall and tell the world, stop the racism, the bigotry, the bias, and the violence against Asian Americans. Stop Asian hate. Tonight, we lit the candles, carrying our prayers, our tears, our memories to grieve those gone too soon. Tomorrow, our marches to the love and the justice continue. Thank you. God bless all. God bless the United States of America.